The FIA Formula One World Championship has been at the pinnacle of motorsport since it began in 1950. Let's take a look at some of the things that have changed and some of the things that have stayed the same in the running for the 2018 Formula One World Championship. Sole tire supplier Pirelli has added 2 brand new compounds to their rainbow of tires. Both brand new compounds go to the extreme ends of the spectrum, SuperHard and Hyper Soft. All innuendo aside, SuperHard tires will help with the strategy in races, and the Hyper Soft tires are built for one reason only: to smash track records. The 2018 schedule of races takes on a much more traditional focus on European rounds. Gone is the Malaysian Grand Prix, replaced by returning races in France at Paul Ricard and in Germany at the Hockenheim Ring. The most controversial off-season change for 2018 is the introduction of the Halo, a safety device mandatory on all FIA Open Cockpit series. The Halo, designed to stop large pieces of debris from entering the cockpit and striking the driver, has met with mixed reactions at best from the fan base and the drivers alike. And it's still unclear whether or not Lewis Hamilton will be more or less #blessed with a halo over his head. Speaking of Lewis, his team, Mercedes-AMG Petronas, has won every single world title between the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships since the V6 turbo hybrid era began in 2014. The team leader, Lewis Hamilton, became a 4-time world champion last year, tying himself as 3rd on the all-time list with Alain Prost and Sebastian Vettel. Should Hamilton win the championship this year, he would tie Juan Manuel Fangio for 2nd on the all-time list, and would be 2 World Driving Championships away from tying Michael Schumacher for the all-time mark. As for his teammate Valtteri Bottas, his sophomore season at Mercedes will determine whether he's a Webber or whether he's a Rosberg. Mercedes' chief rival, Ferrari, is Formula One. The Scuderia, as the sport's most popular team, certainly helps draw interest when they're competitive. And competitive they were last season. Were it not for a late season implosion, we might be talking about another Ferrari World Championship. Ferrari's driver lineup also remains the same. Sebastian Vettel is the only other active driver chasing Fangio's 5 championships. Were he to score a championship, it would be his first for Ferrari, and Ferrari's first world championship since 2007. The man that scored the Scuderia that last world championship is Vettel's teammate, the Iceman, Kimi Raikkonen. Depending on performance, this could be Kimi's last season in Formula One, so enjoy the mwah while you can. If there is a true wild card in the championship, it is Red Bull Racing. While their RB14 chassis is almost certainly up to the task, there are some questions surrounding the reliability of its Renault engine. Aston Martin Tag Heuer power unit. Team leader is Australian Daniel Ricciardo, who wears the number 3 on his car because of his hero, NASCAR driver Dale Earnhardt. The Honey Badger is rumored to be shopping his talents around and may not be a Red Bull man for life. His teammate, F1's new wunderkind, Max Verstappen, enters his 4th season of F1 competition. Reliability issues kept Verstappen off the podium more times than not, and if the Aston Martin Tag Heuer power unit stays underneath him, Verstappen could compete for the World Drivers' Championship. Finishing 4th in the World Championship last season, Force India perhaps had the most intense intra-team rivalry, which began in the Canadian Grand Prix and boiled over with a crash at Baku. Drivers Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon will be looking to put their differences aside and turn the pretty in pink Force India from a podium contender to a race win contender. Williams Martini Racing is going to be a lot more sober by the end of the year, as Martini is leaving as the title sponsor. With that knowledge, it may explain the driver pairing that has appeared at Williams for 2018. Retaining his seat from last year and taking on the role as team leader is Lance Stroll, who is the son of the man who founded the Tommy Hilfiger line of clothes. However, Stroll proved himself more than serviceable last season with a podium finish at Baku. His teammate Sergei Sorokin has a slightly less impressive resume. Sorokin spent the last season as a test driver for the Renault F1 team, and he only made a total of 3 official starts in motorsport last season. 2 races in the FIA Formula 2 Championship and a 16th place at Le Mans for the Russian SMP racing team with a Dallara LMP2. This may end up being a crucial year for one of the sport's legendary teams. Formula One's third full factory team that everybody seems to forget is a full factory team because they're usually mid to back of the pack, Renault Sport, or maybe we should call them Aston Martin Tag Heuer Sport, are looking this year to at least get back to the level of success they had when the team was known as Lotus, much less the success they saw in the mid-2000s when they secured 2 world championships. The lead driver for the team remains German Nico Hülkenberg, and remaining Hülkenberg's teammate from last year after switching from the Toro Rosso team at the United States Grand Prix is Carlos Sainz Jr., the Spaniard who has shown a lot of promise in his short F1 career. Speaking of Toro Rosso, they are the team that has perhaps taken the biggest off-season risk in Formula One, as Red Bull's junior team, if you can even call them that anymore at this point, has taken on development of the much unloved Honda power unit. However, in preseason testing, Toro Rosso was able to complete some of the most miles of any of the teams, which seems to indicate that the Honda reliability problems are a thing of the past. Toro Rosso also features a fresh driver lineup for this year. Stepping into the lead driver role is Brendan Hartley, who was originally signed to run IndyCars this year for Ganassi Racing, but after an impressive fill-in role at Toro Rosso last season, his IndyCar contract was bought out, and Brendan Hartley became a full-time F1 driver. Hartley may be one of the most interesting drivers to watch this season as he comes to grips with an F1 car. And oh, by the way, he's a Le Mans winner. Just figured I'd throw that in there somewhere. Teaming with Hartley is Pierre Gasly, a driver who spent the last 3 years as a development driver for the Red Bull Racing team. Last year he drove for Honda in the Super GT series. The experience with both parts of the team should help Gasly get up to speed. America's F1 team, Haas F1, looks very similar to the way it did last year. The VF18 chassis is powered by a Ferrari engine, and drivers Romain, my brakes aren't working, Grosjean, and Kevin, my dad's car is louder than mine, Magnussen, still hold down the driver lineup. It's interesting to note though, in its 3rd season, Haas F1, America's F1 team, still has yet to hire an American driver. I wonder why that is.
A racing magazine. Looks like a good read. I wonder what the headline is. What in tarnation? Steiner!
Back in orange for the first time since the 70s, McLaren F1 is looking to make up for what was frankly an embarrassing 2017 season. The major change McLaren has made is dumping Honda for Aston Martin Tag Heuer power unit. But at least in preseason testing, it doesn't look like the new power unit necessarily means that the McLaren car is any more reliable. Will this season expose that it's been McLaren all along with the reliability problems? That's a question that can only be answered once the lights go out in Australia. The driver lineup is the same as last year. Everybody's favorite IndyCar driver, double world champion Fernando Alonso, will also juggle an entire World Endurance Championship run for Toyota this year, meaning theoretically, Alonso could be a double world champion in the same year. His teammate Stoffel Vandoorne is often overlooked due to Alonso antics and general unreliability and pace, but if the Renault-powered McLaren is reliable, Vandoorne could be one of the drivers that surprises this season. With the loss of the Marussia team, the unceremonious role of the backmarker of the grid has fallen on the shoulders of Sauber F1. However, the Sauber team has been given a new lease on life this year, as Fiat, the company that owns both Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, has chosen Sauber to become essentially the Ferrari B team. The Sauber C37 is adorned with Alfa Romeo branding. The team will be looking to improve mightily from last year, in which it only scored 5 championship points. And exactly none of them were scored by lead driver Marcus Ericsson. But perhaps the most interesting bit of the new Alfa Romeo Sauber partnership is the addition of Charles Leclerc to the driving lineup. Leclerc has been hyped as one of the drivers involved in Ferrari's developmental program that has the most promise. His performance in the deep red and white Alfa Romeo Sauber may determine whether or not Leclerc is wearing bright red Ferrari colors next season. So that was a bandwagoner's guide to the 2018 Formula One World Championship. Some predictions. Well, it's probably not much of a prediction to say that Mercedes is likely going to run away with the championship. So I'll give you something a little more intriguing. How about I go out on a limb and say Toro Rosso with a Honda engine will score more points over the course of the season than McLaren will with a Renault engine? Who knows? It's entirely possible. Maybe I'm not going out on much of a limb considering McLaren's reliability concerns. Let me know your crazy or even safe predictions down in the comments section below. It'll be interesting to see who gets it right and who's on the mark and who's not on the mark when the lights go out in Australia. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or learned something, be sure to hit a like on it and subscribe for more Bandwagoners guides and motorsport content like this throughout the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.